Hello everyone and welcome to this third video for the Encyclopedia Kickstarter campaign. Today I am here with a slightly different guest because I'm joined by Quentin.
Hey Georgina.
Hello, who is our artistic director here at HGG. Prestigious. So, Quentin, Quentin is here with me today to have a chat about how the campaign is going. We are currently at around 200,000 euros, which is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking part. If you haven't backed the campaign yet, perhaps this video will sway you. If not, there are plenty of other videos for you to watch on our campaign page. And we are going to have a chat about stretch goals, which originally we were not going to offer on this campaign because, as you may know, Encyclopedia has quite an ambitious delivery date. We are going to be delivering this campaign at the end of September this year, so end of September, beginning of October, depending on where you are in the world. The game is very far advanced, so we've been quite reluctant to add lots more stretch goals because they add a lot of production time, both on our side, but especially from the factory side. So adding lots of extra materials and stuff like that, components, can be difficult. However, we've been racking our brains to come up with some exclusive content just for you, our Kickstarter backers, to thank you for making this campaign as successful as it has been and allowing us to make it a reality, because without you, we couldn't do it. So we did that. We started last week on April Fool's Day. So on April Fool's Day, we announced this card, the Cabanagos Caniculus, which is absolutely real Latin. It's a word that exists. This was obviously a joke. It was a joke.
A joke. But a new personal favorite for everyone.
Yeah. So this was actually wildly popular amongst our Kickstarter backers. We didn't expect you to like it as much as you did. Obviously, this is a wink to the killer rabbit from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, the movie which our name comes from and our logo comes from. So this was originally supposed to be a joke. We came up with it while drinking beers, as lots of good ideas come up. Yeah, at Cannes for the International Games Festival. We wanted to do an April Fool's joke for everybody, and we knew that April Fool's Day was going to be during the Kickstarter campaign. And this is what one of the many very silly ideas that we came up with back then. However, as we were chatting about it, we kind of came to realize that we could make it work mechanically as well.
This is silly too.
And and it's also silly. It's the main line here is silly, but the mechanic of the card is actually very funny. So for those of you who didn't get around to reading the update about the Killer Bunny card, the Killer Rabbit is an animal card that isn't like the others. So you are going to shuffle it into the animal deck before you start playing. However, when it comes out, it's not going to work in the same way as a classic animal card. Essentially, you can neither take it, nor study it, nor publish it. When the Killer Rabbit comes out, all it does is immediately attack the first player and kills off one of their research team. So one of their expert cards has to be discarded, flipped over, and you can still use it for your collections at the end of the game. If it has a one-off effect, you can claim that before you discard it, but it has to be discarded.
Yes, this is mean, but not too mean.
Yeah, it's a little something to... Honestly, once you have a few games of Encyclopedia under your belt, this is a great card to kind of mix things up a bit. You'll love it or you'll hate it, but personally we love it. We think it's really fun. It comes with its own little rules card, so this means that we don't have to add any extra details to the rulebook. There was nothing extra that we had to do that could possibly slow down production time, apart from add 2 extra cards to the Magna Itinera expansion. So this is going to be going straight into here, which means it's an exclusive to, it's a HGG exclusive. You will only be able to get it on this Kickstarter campaign and potentially on our website a little bit later if we have any copies left over, but it will not be available in stores. This is just for you guys.
But even for the most serious players, this is a quite interesting card.
Yes.
Because if you play a lot of Encyclopedia, you'll see that the bank is a major location. For
it's very strategic.
And there is a war for this token, for the first player token.
Yeah.
And this card allows to I don't know how to say
It's
English.
it kind of mitigates it counteracts the really interesting side of being first player and makes it a bit of a double-edged sword. So you still got all the advantages of being first player, but now you have the inherent menace of the killer bunny hanging over you when you're first player, which I think is hilarious, especially due to the fact that when the killer rabbit is drawn, it comes onto the board, it attacks the first player, and is then returned to the animal deck. So you can choose to shuffle it back in, and it may return at a later date, or you could choose to ticking time bomb it and just lift up the first however many cards, random number of cards from the top of the deck, put it in, put the deck back down, and you know it's coming. It's coming.
It's coming, but you can prepare.
But
you can get an instant expert, one-off,
a one-shot expert,
one-shot expert,
with the little lightning symbol on.
and then not use his effect
Immediately, just keep it.
Just keep it, and when the rabbit comes, hop.
Yeah, you say, well, sorry, Bob. You had an immediate effect, which means you are our sacrifice, our human shield for the killer rabbit. Off you go, and we start playing again. So, yeah, it was invented all in a bit of good fun. We'll know that you'll love it or hate it. You may choose to never play with it, but we just thought it was a fun idea, and we're happy that so many of you also thought that. So we have a few more of these coming, because, you know, the creativity of coming up with little concepts like this with the constraints of not adding too much production time has actually been really fun.
Yes, it's fun.
So, and to be honest, the whole creative journey behind Encyclopedia has been fantastic fun as well. So you've been at the head of it all with our three-person art team here at Holy Grail. There's 6 of us, and 3 of them are artists. So you guys kind of juggle between illustration and graphic design. So you have Joelle, who did the cards, Jeremy, who did the board, and then you, who kind of oversee the sort of general direction everything's going, and you do graphic design too. This was a big job. It's a lot of work.
A beast.
Yeah, because overall we had 3 artists behind this. So we had Ronan Trudeau, who is the cover artist, and who did the concept art for the board.
All this concept art you see on the board is from Ronan.
Yeah.
Is fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous artist. And a funny fact about Ronan is he loved to draw boats.
Okay.
He loved that. When you are an artistic director and you have to ask an illustrator to draw a boat with a lot of ropes, the sailings,
it's technically challenging. Drawing a boat is hard.
And you know it's a thing, you know.
Yeah.
And Ronan already told me that he loved that.
Yeah.
He do a lot of pirate stuff, and
he does.
boat is his,
because Ronan, for those of you who don't know, is a comic book artist mainly, and he's sort of foraying now quite a lot into board games. But at the start of his career was comic books, and he did an entire pirate series called The Republic of the Skull. If you haven't read it yet, have a look, because if you like his artwork, fill your boots. Obviously, he's an amazing artist, a fast artist as well. He draws so quickly, and he loves crazy technical detailed stuff like 1700 sailing ships.
Yeah.
And that's not something I would like to try and draw, but we're all different. So yeah, well done, Ronan. Thank you so much for being so willing to draw these incredibly complex pieces for us. We're very happy. So obviously we have to talk about it. The next big challenge beyond all of the concept art is something much more technically challenging, which was the cards.
The cards, yeah. Joel did a wonderful job on the cards because there is 75 for the base game, plus the 15 legendary animals.
Yes, in the Magna Itinerary, which we talked about in our previous video. So have a look at that if you haven't seen them. They look amazing.
So quite a lot of animals, and she drew them one by one. But not only the animal on the card, but also all the
it's like the sketching, and they are my favourite part. I have to admit, the sketches in the background of all of the animal cards in Encyclopedia, I am just in love with, and I really think they make the cards look so much better than they otherwise would have.
She did hours of research to find the skulls,
such
the
a
footprints.
lot of work. Yeah,
amazing.
Because it's all real stuff. So she didn't just steal these from somewhere. It's it's all real drawings, real research that's gone into making these look really realistic, and to give that kind of nod to what a naturalist's notebook would perhaps have looked like back in the day. And I think it's wonderful. I absolutely love that style.
And it was quite a good idea to make a white page in the back for the background, because the card on the board stand up.
Yeah, they stand out. Yeah, the basic layout of them. You've got the nice brightly coloured band at the top, the nice animal illustration in the middle, and then everything else is quite pure. It keeps it easy to read.
Yeah, because there is a lot of stuff.
So much information. Board. Yeah, and it also allows everything to be a bit more legible, because it is the eternal battle of board game graphic design, is coming up with something that's beautiful but also easy to understand, easy to read, that can be seen from a distance, that can be managed by people who suffer from colour blindness, because that's also something that we try and incorporate into our games as much as possible. It's challenge after challenge. It's a lot of constraints. You just coming up with just cards like this is hard. It's hard.
I remember at the first sessions about talking about the game and what we can do, Olivier and Eric wanted to have a view of London or Paris.
Okay. Ambitious.
For the board. You play in the city. You go at the bank, and a 3D view of the city, and it was just crazy, because who want to draw that?
Sure.
Also, there is a lot of stuff. We wanted to have all the animals, all the experts, all the cubes, all the dice on the board. It was a mess.
It wouldn't work. Having the necessary information on the board would have covered up all of the thematic illustration, and any sense it would have made thematically would have been lost, I think. So that was probably... But I remember that discussion, I was there, and it's one of those things where you're sort of like, that's such a good idea in theory. And then you have a think about it, and you're like, okay, so by the time we've put all the cards here, the dice here, the publication zone there, what you have left is that, this, and then a little bitty space around the side. It was difficult. But doing the board, so Jeremy Pruniot did the board, and honestly, probably the toughest job out of the three.
The most difficult. He spent weeks on this board. The work here is amazing. When you have the final game at your house, you'll see the amount of details everywhere. It's crazy.
It's such a lot of detail, from all of the little naturalist treasures that are on the board. So you've got some little eggs here you have some flowers, there's like a fossil at the bottom, there's a feather, everything has like little pages sticking out from underneath with little details of sketches on. It's a crazy amount of detail, and
and you can find all the iconography for the game hidden in this. It's brilliant.
And then it was. So I think hiding, like you said, is the right word. So all of the game's iconography is here on the board, but sometimes you do have to look for it a bit. We were talking about this earlier. Here at HGG, we really like to have games that are very beautiful and interesting to look at, which can often mean vast amounts of detail. We are aware that the first time you try and get to grips with this board, you may have to sort of hunt out the details of like some of the icons, maybe a little bit sort of not as obvious to the eye, but it's all been made so that it looks beautiful, but is also as clear as we could possibly make it without sacrificing. It's absolutely a choice we stand behind. This whole effect in the end is very... it's a desk.
It's a desk. It's a naturalist desk.
Yeah.
And we wanted to have a game that can be read... And
top to bottom.
Top to bottom, yeah. You're beginning the turn with this token, then you see the experts and animals, then you go to the expeditions, then you get cubes, then you go to make the encyclopedia.
Yeah.
So this is a logic order.
For sure.
And it was quite a challenge because on the first prototypes, Olivier and Eric made the locations everywhere. There was absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
You go there and there and there and there. It was horrible.
There was a lot. I remember seeing the original prototype, and we kind of it wasn't crazy, but it's our jobs as board game designers to organize information as clearly as possible. I've explained this game probably more times than I can count now. As if you're a member of the press or if you come to our booth at an event, I'm most probably going to be there. I've explained this game a lot. It is such a pleasure to explain because it's so logical in terms of the way it goes. You're getting your funds from the bank. You're going to go and prepare by going to the embassy. You're hiring your research team. Once you've done all your prep work, you choose what animals you want to study. You go to observe them by doing an expedition, and then you publish what you find.
Everything
just makes sense. And obviously the game is a little bit more technical than that. There are a lot of like little rules that you have to remember, things that you have to do. But generally, the theme just kind of speaks for itself. I completely understand the desire to do the whole city for the board. I think that would have been very thematic and cool. But oof, I mean, how do you pull it off? It's I think you were right to change direction.
You will have to be a city, but all those cards outside of the board, and it was not such a good idea.
No. So I think you're right there.
And we love the immersion of the desk.
Yes,
it was something we already loved to do on museum and Pictura.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had comments about this of people saying, "Oh, this kind of reminds me of museum," or it kind of makes me think of Pictura, and that is desired. We did kind of want to make it give just a little nod to the games that we've done before that have inspired it, that have a few common points with it. So yeah, that's kind of where all this came from. So that was fun to talk about that. I hope you guys enjoyed that in particular, because I've been kind of dying to talk to you all about the artistic journey of Encyclopedia. We have one more thing to talk about before we end this video, because we did do the Killer Rabbit, but that's not all we did. This week we also announced the Royal Edicts. So if you guys haven't seen this yet, we are going to explain them to you. So this is another stretch goal, a bit of exclusive content that we added to the campaign for you all. It is essentially 4 cards, so 3 cards that you're going to play with and 1 rules card. The Royal Edicts are essentially variants, which is something I find super interesting. So we wanted to give you something that would be mechanically very interesting to play with and help you get even more replayability out of the game once you have a good number of plays under your belt. And this is what we think we've achieved here with the Royal Edicts. Essentially, the king has issued an order and is now requiring certain types of behavior from his naturalists, and so you are going to adopt these edicts and play in a different way. So you can choose at the start of the game to play with just 1 of these, 2 of them, or 3 of them if you would prefer. And they essentially modify the game's base rules in very subtle ways that you are going to find modify the game in a really, really interesting manner.
Yeah, I love those cards. I mean, I really love those. I think I will play with these cards at any time.
Yeah. I mean, you were talking to me about this earlier, and you said you see the Royal Edicts as basically being Encyclopedia, the director's cut.
Yeah.
Which I loved. I thought was great.
Because when you work on this game with Olivier and Eric, there is a lot of talking about which variant of the rule we have to keep in the final game.
Yes.
And sometimes it's quite hard to say that we love that rule, but it don't fit with the other rules, you know.
or it's too much, just a tiny bit too complicated.
For this game, we want to keep it accessible for everyone.
Yeah.
So if you take, for example, the first card.
Yep. So this card here, which is a modification to the expedition rule.
Sure. It's awesome because in the base game, when you put a dice on the expeditions, you always put choose a continent and put your dice on the
leftmost space. Yeah. Space. So the space furthest to the left that is still available. So if a player had already gone here, you would have to go here. If you're the first player to arrive, you must take this space.
But now
it's all different because essentially with this card, you get to pick which space you take.
You choose between the four of them. It's awesome.
It's great. Why is it so great?
Because you can took, for example, this space.
Yeah.
I only need 1 reputation point to get my bonus. I don't want to, and I want 2 points for my expedition, my value, for my dice. So it's really cool because you can now adjust.
Yes.
In a more subtle way.
Yeah.
And it's really quite more expert, but just a little.
Just a tiny bit,
it's awesome.
Yeah, and it gives you even more options because if you're going on an expedition, perhaps all you have to use is a 2. You think, I just need 2 more points, 3 more points. Well, there you go. You've got it. And, maybe your reputation counter isn't quite on the right place at the moment for you to get those 3 extra coins or that little bonus that you needed. And this can just bring you in and make it so that you know that you've always got a potential 3 extra value points to work with when you do an expedition, which is awesome. So, we didn't want to include this rule in the base game because it gives players a choice that is... It's a heavy choice.
It's a heavy choice. It don't seem like a heavy choice, but for the more occasional player, more casual player, it's quite huge. I don't know.
Where do I put my dice? Why? Yeah. Why do I have to choose? What's the meaning of it? How deep does it go? And as a more experienced player, you'd sit there and go, well, how long have you got? But in this case, we wanted to make it so that a player playing the game for the first time could just pick it up and run as quickly as possible, considering that we are in a mid-weight Euro that is quite challenging, and we wanted to make it a little bit more streamlined. This card gives you the possibility of just kicking up a notch, just a bit. So that's the first card. The second card is possibly even more strategically interesting. So this card basically makes it so that when you gain reputation points, you don't have to take them. So this is a variant to the rule that we had considered, again, adding to the base game. Again, it adds a layer of complexity that...
It's quite difficult to explain to a new player.
Yes, it's difficult to explain to a new player. Why wouldn't you take your reputation if you want to take it? So to go through it quickly, as you may or may not know at this stage, you have a reputation tracker here at the top of your player board. Each time you pass over or stop on one of the bonuses, you get to take that bonus. However, timing is really crucial in Encyclopedia. I think it's one of the most important things in the game. And if you get a bonus and it's just not the right time, it can really put you off your stride. For example, let's say I'm approaching the animal card bonus. There's nothing on the board this round that I want. So if we're reaching the end of the round and I know that, I know that more animal cards will come out next round, I can choose to not take that reputation, to not have to cycle all the way back round again to be able to get an animal card next round. So it's, again, very subtle changes. But again, if this round everybody has just thrown themselves onto the experts and there are no experts left, it can be kind of a bummer to have to take your reputation.
And it's even more subtle because you don't have to take all the reputation.
No,
if you
some
have
of it.
3 reputation points, for example here, you can choose to get only 1.
Yeah.
It's it's like the expeditions. It's quite difficult to explain to a new player because it's a new layer of thinking.
Absolutely.
During your during your game.
Absolutely.
There's already many layers.
Yes, yeah, it's already quite a challenging game the first few times you play. So this adds a little something extra to it for those of you who sort of desire that extra challenge. So the final card is probably the most subtle of the three, I would say, because this one adds a new element to the publication action. So again, as you may or may not know, when you visit the bank, the first player to visit the bank this round is going to become first player. Being first player in Encyclopedia is quite strategic because it gives you first pick when there's a card to be chosen. It gives you, obviously, you get to play first, which is always a good thing.
If you play a lot of Encyclopedia, the bank is the war.
It's
the war for this first player token. It's amazing.
Yeah, and sometimes, and I have done it, especially when you play solo. If you're a solo player out there, you will go to the bank even if you don't really need to, because being first player is really useful. It's far from game breaking, but it gives you an advantage that can really be worth it. So with this card, this doesn't happen anymore. You do not become first player when you are the first to visit the bank anymore. Instead, you become first player when you are the first to do the publish action. So if you've already played a few games of Encyclopedia on Tabletopia, for example, you'll know that the publication action, some people do like to kind of hoard all of their research cubes and do very few publishing actions in the game. It's a strategy. I have played games where someone has literally done one publication action in the entire game, just one huge one. They were lucky. That worked out for them.
You can run with one publication or 12.
Yeah. However, each time you publish, you do get a Royal Seal, that's a thing. So that's something that you need to consider. But this card will make it so that, maybe I won't hoard my research cubes quite so much, and I will try and do more small publication actions to be able to get first player that way. And it can be a bit of a race because publishing, you have to go through quite a lot of steps before you can publish.
Like you say, it's the more subtle and the more complicated to handle.
Yeah, for sure. So that's really something extra to add to the game. So as I said before, you can choose to play with just one of these or all three of them if you want to really mix the game up and give it that different feel, because they do change the sensation of the game slightly by just moving the strategic markers along one way or the other each time. So you will find yourself having to adapt the way you play to make up for these new, or make up for, not exactly, but to adapt to these new conditions. So they may seem like not a lot, but I think they're a great idea. And in terms of replayability, they add so much.
Yeah, it's only 3 cards, but it's huge.
Yeah. Absolutely. So there you go, a little bit more variation to your games of Encyclopedia. We are really happy with these. Let us know what you think in the comments. We are not out of ideas yet. We have still got a couple of things to offer you before the end of the campaign. We hope that you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed having a chat to you, Quentin. Thank you very much, and especially for speaking to me in English, which is very kind of you.
I'm sorry for my English.
Your English is great. Oh my God. So we will be back again next week with the final video for the Kickstarter campaign. We will be doing it on Tuesday instead of Thursday. And I will be with the authors of the game for this final video.
Beware.
Hold on to your hats, because they are quite a pair. So thank you again, everyone, if you have backed the game. We're so grateful. Thank you for getting the word out. I've seen loads of you have been tweeting. So many of you have been communicating about the game. That's brilliant for us. If you haven't done so already, please go to our BGG page for Encyclopedia. Have a look at the different forum posts that are on there, the different videos that are on there. We have gorgeous photos. There's tons of stuff for you to look at. And it really helps us as well, because every visit we get to the Encyclopedia page on Board Game Geek gets us a step closer to being in the hotness. So that's wonderful. Thanks again, everyone, for watching, and we will see you all next week or in the comments section of the Kickstarter campaign. Bye, everyone.